The struggle of shooting a great anime adaptation. Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli, I'm a cinematographer, and today we talk about the cinematography of the live-action version from One Piece. Nowadays, years have passed, now we have a great history of live adaptation where we take something like an anime and try to replicate it with real actors. But most of the time, this live action failed. The One Piece live actions, one of the first anime adaptation that seems to work. People that don't know the series are watching it, people that are watching the series are watching it. In this video, I'm going to explain to you the cinematography of the live action and why I think the series works so good and other series failed miserably. So after watching this video, you should be able to shoot something like this. So this is the first thing we're looking at. And here we can see a glimpse of the camera setup that we're using. And a freaking technique in the series is the usage of wide angle close-ups. You will see a lot of handheld motion and without easy rig. I'll show you this in a different example. Normally in a series like this or any movie or piece of media, handheld shots are nowadays made with easy rig, so you're a little bit more stable, a little bit more fluid. But in this series, I don't see easy rig very often. The footage is very gibberish and we go very close, so with our wide angle lenses, so it's not normal like in 35mm where we have a nice frame and less compressed look of the face. No, we are more in this area like 27, 24, 20mm, and for our close-up shots they just go pretty close, which the look of it is that we get a really distorted image, the background pushes far away and we get a unique look. In an example like here you can clearly see it that our faces have this little bit of distortion because that's the lens we use. We're working here on full frame cameras, so we get this really shallow depth of field, and I love working with full frame cameras and a wide aperture. It's like the shot of me right now. We have this 3:2 aspect ratio. We are 24mm 1.4, which gives this wide angle look but still great separation from the background and a great depth of field. What I also noticed is the usage of a gimbal. Normally in a production like this, One Piece is very high budget. So I think they have around 15 million around per episode, and that's a lot of money for a series. For example, Game of Thrones had a budget of 10, 11, 12 million, so we are way above it. And that's one of the reasons why the series work. Normally, these live adaptations felt cheap, not so good thought out, the production level was not, the costumes are really bad, and this whole series lives from great set design, great costumes. The most dangerous thing someone can do in a live action, and I think they learned over the years, is don't change too much. People are very pressed and focused on, that's my favorite character. That's how he has to look like. That's how he has to act like. This is what he has to wear. And when you establish such a big series like that and then try to change a little bit, then people go mad. So here, people are still going mad because we have to compress the story. You probably notice people that watch the real anime knows it's much longer. Things in the live adaptation are pushed more at the beginning, so that because they knew we can't do 15 seasons of this. After 15 years, this guy would be old, wouldn't really look like Ruffy, so they have to compress the story a little bit, make the pacing a little bit better. But I think it works. It's not that weird. When you don't know the series, it's not weird at all. But as someone that watched the series, read the manga, it's a little bit weird sometimes, but it's still enjoyable. So why they used a gimbal instead of a Steadicam? On productionist level, you normally think, okay, there's enough money for a Steadicam, but maybe they want to get the more animation-like feeling. So a gimbal that is more electronic and more unorganic with the movement is a better fit for it. But I think it works, it doesn't look weird, it doesn't have... Overall, I don't think using a gimbal is so much worse than using a Steadicam. I think a really good gimbal operator gets the same results, so don't overcomplicate that steady movement part. So using a gimbal is totally fine. You know, when working on this kind of production, I never worked on this kind of production, this top tier, but I tell you, most of the time, the ceiling doesn't exist. We build sets. So most around these sets are built around eye level, a little bit higher, and Sometimes even buildings just stop when you build them, like here in the background, because we know we will extend it later in post. The reason for it is it's much cheaper to do it in CGI than build everything, and you're more flexible because now maybe you want to shoot in this direction and now you need a different building there just for the looks because you want the moon or something like this. But that's the reason why you don't choose to build everything around it. And at the end, when you have to replace the sky, so it doesn't matter. So just spare a little bit of time, spare a little bit of budget, and just build everything about eye level and a little bit higher. Also, a big plus is when you don't have a ceiling, you can put lights everywhere. You're not controlled to the limitations of your area. Now you can build a nice top line, everything around it to get nice ambience, even at night scenes. And overall, the scenery, the series is not very spotlighted. It's very, you light the whole area, work with practicals. I will show you in the next frame. Here, this is a nice example where we in this pub-like scenery and we just put practicals everywhere, in every corner, every ceiling area, just that we have an ambience, a mood, light directions, and then we just have to add fill for close-ups and more important scenes. Even every time when you shoot actions, you need real estate. You don't have to think about, there's this light, there's a sky panel, there's an aperture, so that you can't do the movement. So for action scenes, I like to shoot action scenes, you just build a lighting setup around practicals that work for the whole scene. So you just can concentrate on the action. People don't care too much about perfect lighting. They want more that the scenery feels real, it's entertainment. So just skip a little bit of cinematography out of the way so that we have the entertainment factor of nice action. So most of the time, the lighting setups in the series are not that complicated. So like you can see here, we have the same bar. So we're working with all this ambience, all these practicals, and then you just add something like these what are this, light mats, Spectrum 2L, to just fill in a little bit key to the character. So we have a bit more form on the face, but that's it. So when you look closely all the time at the faces, it's not very precise. So not so that you can see, there's this one soft light that wraps around him and this key light. No, it's very mixed, very natural in a way, I would say. Like you were in real life and then you would have a little bit of warm, a little bit of cold, but more to it in the next few images. Here, this is same scenery a little bit later. And as you can see, we just have a few lights on the outside. Always work around your location. So when we have windows and you want to set up, okay, the sun is coming from this direction. So you can put big lights on the outside and just blast it in the background so that we have a little bit contrast. Always when you have huge locations, always light the location first. Like I said before, put all your practicals, make every angle interesting when you're also planning an action scene. So every corner looks cool, every corner looks interesting, and you don't have to think a lot about the light. And like you can see, they just have a little bit of key on the other side of their face so that they're not completely flat. Because we set the light direction with the windows in this direction, this is also the direction where the light should come from. And they choose just a little bit to create a little bit of form here. Maybe they necked with negative Molton the other side so that we get a bit more of contrast, but that's it. Maybe a bit haze in the background, and again, that's it. This series, it's not too overcomplicated. Now we're going in for a close-up. Here, as you can see, we're in this castle where they met first time Chopper, and the setup here is also pretty simple. Choose your framing and then work your practicals. Okay, I have this thing to work with. I want this window in the background. Then a few more practicals here, a few practicals here. Here's the fireplace. And so we build a nice line of practicals in the background so that no corner feels dead. So you never want anything most of the time to feel dead unless it's you want to really focus the view of someone onto someone. But here, I think it's more important to make the image feel alive because the scenery is very alive. No new character, new emotion. The lighting here is pretty easy. We have this fireplace in this corner as motivation. And this is probably just a bounce I would use and a sky panel that's with a fireplace effect bounce into it, and this gives roughly the key. Then a nice thing you can do, here we're working with warm and cold because on the outside it's snowing, it's pretty cold. So we just add, I would put a bounce also just above him, and then put the sky panel on a cooler tone and bounce light back to him indirectly to just fill in these shadows with a cooler tone so that he's just not warm. Just warm on him wouldn't feel good in the scenery and wouldn't feel a bit flat, too contrasty, too contrary to flat in the same sentence, also very strong for me. But you probably know what I mean. So to break this really, really warm fireplace look, you often try to add a little bit of cool color to add more color contrast, which also motivated in the background so it doesn't feel really off. In the live action, VFX are really important. What I mean with it, you have dinosaurs, you have chopper, you have fish, you have giants. So how do I plan a shoot like this so that it looks realistic, so that it looks good? And the most easy thing to do is have really simple direct light. So everyone understands, okay, this is the light source. So the light is coming from here. And that's how you make VFX look natural most of the time. You established a lighting setup that is so simple for the audience to understand, like, okay, he's standing near a flame. It's moonlight and they're backlit from the backlight. So you'd always light the person how you would light it, like in the scene, the moon is here. So clearly he just gets a brutal front lights that he is clearly the silhouette. And because the lighting setup is so simple to understand, the VFX artist can easily replicate it, and that's the reason why it looks good. Always when you're working with VFX, try to make your light source a bit more obvious. It really helps the VFX person. Here also pretty interesting, here we are inside Labu, and here also how do we shoot, how we plan a shoot like this. And pretty much like everything I said before, we just built a set around the eye level. We just build it from here, and the rest is CGI just extended. Like I said before, now we can work with lights on the outside, make everything look good. Sure, it's a bit more difficult when you're working at the day. You won't have to shoot at the night to have a little bit more control. But overall, I think that's a really good solution for the problem, because at none moment I think it looks totally fake. You know, in your mind it has to be fake because we are not shooting actually in a whale, but I think that looks really good. Big hands up for the set designer, the costumes. That's really what makes the show possible, and that work they've done here really helps the anime community get bigger and more acceptance from outside. Also really cool trick that you can do, which is not out of budget, is when you have windows, most of the time you have to replace it with VFX, or you just overexpose them so that they're just white. But there's a third option, and that's just big photo walls, so that you have a little bit of blue, a little bit of water, and then you shine a little bit of light on it, and most of the time it's enough. So a lot of big movies where you have skyscrapers in the background, it's no VFX most of the time. It's much more easy to do something like this, just far in the background. It's a little bit soft, so no one cares for details, and you spare a lot of money and time with no VFX, and you have a final view at the end of the day that you know, okay, this is the image that I'm getting and this looks good. This is probably a shot that you have done multiple times in your life. You're walking down a corridor, how do I light, how I set up a shot like this most of the time. So always work with your area. So you know, okay, here are the windows. So where's the light coming from? Exactly from that windows. Done. First thing done. So now you know, we have this character, Nico Robin, walking through there. This is her scene. We see her, I think, the first time at that point. She's a very beautiful character, so we want to enhance it. So we don't go for this dramatic look where she's half lit. No. We have something like Astera with a balloon light on it, and we just put it a little bit of power and put it slightly above her like a beauty dish and walk with her. And that's then. That's everything you have to do with the shot. It's a really nice soft source. As you can see, it's clearly coming from here because we have this chin shadow. So we don't go for a side light. You don't always have to make everything realistic. This is an anime adaptation, so your light can be a little bit off and unrealistic to support more the mood and intensity of the scene. She shouldn't look evil or brutal in the scene. That's the reason we still give her this beauty light that we can embrace. So, oh, she's a very elegant character. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate subscription from you. My name is Marco Bonioli, and you want to see more from the live action, write it down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.